Hello fellow viewer, here QcWarChief with the Minutemen Legacy. Today in Elite Dangerous I'm gonna talk about the complexity of the interface that we have to deal with when getting in game. Along the controller we have some little stuff to understand, and the dashboard of your ship has a lot of information, and none of this information is useless. It is there for a reason. We're going to talk about the internal panel, the communication panel, the internal panel, and also the role panel. Essentially, this is not really complicated the moment you know what they are used for. We are going to start by the external panel, which is your best friend in the game. You're going to keep using this, I would say, every 2, 3, 5 minutes. So into the internal panel, we have the navigation, the transaction, and the contact. You see the big list into the navigation. This is the point of interest, every single things that there is inside the system. Usually you scout the system, the more it's scouted, the more it's scanned, the more stuff you'll find. You have the station, you have the signal sources are mostly for the pirates, the point of interest are mostly for the conflict area, fleet carrier, of course it says itself. The settlements are related mostly for base on the planet, so that goes with the landfall. The engineer will have their place on the planet as well. So you have also the system map, the galaxy map there, and you see all the list. In function of the filter you have, different thing will show up. As example, the stuff that you see that it's looking like a target with some dots on it, it's system around the system that you have right now, neighbor system that you can access. If you see a square with another angle square in it, it's a station. After time you'll recognize the symbols that you see inside the navigation. It's normal that when you start it's confusing a little bit. You see that there is many stuff right there, so it's mainly why you need to set the filter a little bit to reduce the amount of stuff you see inside the navigation to be able to better direct yourself. What I usually do is I keep system, I keep station, and I keep star active. So this way I get the minimum whenever I'm traveling. I can still scan the system and get everything I need. We go into transaction. Into transaction we find every single mission we have, which I suggest you to read the mission before taking it, because sometimes you will take a mission, you think it's fighting pirates, but it's fighting another faction in conflict zone. It's completely different scenery. Into contact. This is where in combat I love to use this, because if somebody's scanning me, I can see his name and I go straight into the contact. But in the contact also you have the possibility to target directly some part of the ship. I'm showing you right now the communication panel. The communication panel is really important if you play with friends, if you have people around you. You scroll in there. The first section is the chat, the second one is the mail, the third one is the social, which is really important for your friend. The squadron, if you have active squadron leader, he will update the squadron news through this panel, so you'll have the update on a regular basis. We get into the most complicated panel here, the internal one, often underestimated, but it's wrong to underestimate that panel. Not only for the information that you can see inside the codex right now, you got most of what you need to know there. Of course, Google will know better, but Google will also spoil your fun a little bit, so you may want to be careful there. You get the information you need whenever you get stuck, but if you want Google to play for you, that kind of ruin your fun a little bit. So here you can see information towards the mission you can do. This is the information about faction, alliance, characters, and random stuff that you have inside the galaxy. Information towards your own profile. We go into the role panel. The role panel is related to SRV and fighters. Fighters in combat that you can drop and call back. You just click on it, you'll have the option. Here is my crewmate. I suggest to take crewmate at the lowest rank first, so you have the loyalty bonus. Whenever they grow up, they level up, they will cost less than somebody that you got at expert, for example. You just saw the engineer there. I'm not covering that at the moment because it's much more complicated. Here you see the modules. This is where you can repair your modules if you have the needed material in combat. It's best to stay away from combat because it creates problem otherwise. But you also see the information related to your modules, so it's really good to have the specs of your modules individually. You see the fire groups right now. As you can see in my ship, it's really not complicated at the moment. I'm just throwing everything on one trigger, but my defense on the other one, and I'm not switching that much into the fire group. The fire group, you hold X and you press the bumpers. If you hold X and you press the bumpers, you'll switch between the fire groups that you've settled in the page that we've seen previously. It's really important if you have many defensive modules or many different kind of weapons. I would say in PvP that gets really handy. Here comes one of the most important page. Mostly related because there is quick slots sometimes that deactivate some little stuff. So reboot repair is really useful if you break some modules. The beacon is essential to be active if you play with friends. If here, really good, really important, you tend to deactivate some stuff sometimes. If you want to not crash yourself in the sun, you may want to activate this option there that you just saw. Every time you jump from one sun to another, it keeps the throttle at 0, so you won't be entering into fast moving super cruise. You see here the inventory. It's really important. You see the first section was the cargo. This is the refinery, but this is the data that you recover, the small resources that you recover in combat sometimes that you can exchange in most of the station, which I'm gonna explain eventually through video for the engineers. But here is one of my favorite section, because in combat sometimes you get low on ammo, and if you farm material like I usually do on planets, you can keep producing ammo in the middle of the combat. So you just get away a little bit, because if you take damage, that's gonna cut drastically the construction of the ammo. So you just get away a little bit and you can craft. You can also have some specialized, well, not specialized, but more powerful ammo, like the one that you just saw, the standard. Also, there you go, it's working the same for the FSD and pretty much everything. You can boost their capacity there if you have a lot of material. So you may want to have some reading in there, because it involves a lot of mechanic, and that pushes your potential a lot further inside the game. As you can see right now, I can craft pretty much everything, even the life support, which can save your life. You see the SRV modules also. If you have planetary exploration to do and you're lacking of fuels, that will get handy. Here you see the reputation place. Reputation towards the small minor faction, reputation towards the major faction. This is essentially a logbook. There you go, the permits. Permits are really useful if you want to go visit the solar system. Whenever you are scanning a system while in Super Cruise, it's going to change automatically the combat mode to the search mode. You see, if it's blue in your screen, it means that you're in search mode. You need to switch it by holding Y and press up on the D-pad. That's going to switch it automatically into combat mode. Well, I think that covers up a small portion of the interface of your ship, so you're able to exploit a little more potential inside the game. This is QcWarChief along the Minutemen Legacy. I remind you that we hold a private group session inside Xbox Live. We welcome new players, we welcome experienced players, as long as they are friendly players that wish to respect the only rule that we have inside the session. Please subscribe, please like, please come back, and please communicate with me if you want to access that session.